Today we'll be discussing Below Deck Med Season 8, Episode 15, Curb Your Enthusiasm.
You did better than I could have done. Good job. Here's your recap. Laura leaves and Haley returns, but the boat can't leave the dock due to high winds. The crew tries to entertain the guests with food, games, and dancers, and Natalya and Jack make plans to meet up on the last night out. What could possibly go wrong? Sarah, what are your thoughts?
Not a super exciting episode. Lily was really the star of this episode. We'll kind of get into my thoughts about how the crew could have done better.
Yeah.
On this. So when the episode begins, it's the morning after the crew night out, and Haley is finally better and on her way back to the boat.
She was only gone for 3 days,
Mhm.
which in like TV time, it's like a month.
Yeah. It's like,
it was crazy. I'm glad she's feeling better though.
Yeah, me too. Okay, we have the final preference sheet meeting. We have Victor from Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, buddy.
He's a neurosurgeon.
So I did a little Google searching. Neurosurgeon in Columbus, Ohio, named Victor.
Yeah.
And I found him. So he's based in Pickerington and he's part of the Ohio health system.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Like, we probably have mutual friends.
I'm sure of it.
I wonder
Absolutely.
if he lives in Pickerington. All right.
That's a different Google search.
Yeah. Okay, Pickerington friends. If you know this guy, let us know. This is cool. We need some more information.
That's right.
So joining him are his friends, including his girlfriend Laura, which
She's
has
very
an H
pretty
on the end. Not a fan of that.
Oh, I've never seen that before.
No. So they want a wine pairing with a Mediterranean dinner. They want to go to a beach club. They want Hollywood glam, red carpet party, and water sports.
Yeah, they're not getting any of that.
Well, some of it.
Maybe.
Okay. So Haley's back, but then Laura leaves.
And they hug each other. And I cringed because they were sharing air and touch and germs. But then I was like, I wonder how Sarah was after watching that scene.
Yeah, I was thinking about how dirty that room was that Laura's been camped out in. And I mean, maybe Haley and Laura have the same illness, so maybe it doesn't matter because Haley's already had it.
Yeah.
But if not, like, gross.
That should be like Lysol,
wipes, disinfectant,
everything.
Gross. So
funny.
Max teases Lily about trying to drunk cuddle him the night before and climb into his bunk.
I could not understand what was going on in that scene.
I know.
But it was cute.
It's very windy.
Yeah.
And Sandy points out that all the boats are in the harbor, which means, nobody's going out. It's really bad weather. And I think they showed that it was like 31 knots or something, or 31 miles per hour. That's very, very windy.
Well, and they said the waves were 3 meters high. I mean, isn't
crazy.
Isn't that almost 9 feet?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
So Sandy calls a quick crew meeting to discuss the bad news that they won't be able to leave the dock for this charter.
Yikes.
Kyle says it's been a rough season, and then he goes through all the bad things that have happened this season. He and Toomey were late because they didn't have visas. The bosun had fraudulent papers. They had to get a new deckhand. The fighting between Natalya and Toomey. Kyle and Natalya's fight, and then Natalya quit. Kyle and Jack's fight. Haley getting sick. Laura getting sick. There were more things, though.
Yeah.
I also would say all of the hangovers that resulted in, going to the doctors, missing days of work. Kyle's migraine. Kyle's meltdown on the floor. And let us not forget, Sandy fractured her wrist this season.
That's true. That's a good call. You pulled out some really important ones. Are you surprised that he did not mention his meltdown and migraine?
No.
Just curious. Okay.
So the guests arrive and they look very fancy.
They were so classy looking walking down the dock, or at least I thought they were classy looking. I guess I thought they were classy, maybe.
No, they looked styled.
They did. They looked
really
very nice.
So after they kind of tour the boat, Sandy shares the bad news about the gale force winds and that they won't be leaving the dock. And the guests are obviously disappointed. However, Victor was kind of like, oh, okay, just
He
kind
was
of,
the most relaxed about all of them.
yeah,
I was impressed, but the guests made sure, especially Jeff, made sure to let everyone know at every possible moment that they were disappointed and are saying things like, "It's not that bad. It's not that bad out.
looks fine. I
Sure,
don't know
go
what you're
ahead.
talking about.
Don't believe the captain and her umpteen years of training and experience. It's fine. They're just trust me, they want you to sit on the boat in the dock and not do anything."
Yeah,
Good
it's going to affect
gravy.
their tip.
Right.
So, since all the boats are in port, shouldn't they have just thrown like a big rager of a dock party for all the charter guests that were like stuck in port?
That's amazing. Why
That'd be a
didn't they?
missed opportunity. Probably too much of a nightmare with filming and all that and getting
Well,
permission.
could you imagine some of the people are staying on those boats or who own those
Yeah.
boats?
Yeah, you don't know who's there.
That's right.
So
Oh, next time. Next
next
time.
time. Okay. Toomey and Luka plan some things like they're Googling like what to do in Genoa. And the pressure is really on Jack with the food this
I
charter,
know.
and he knows it.
It was definitely a Google to the rescue kind of day.
But at the
Which I'm
same time,
surprised they didn't have that done ahead of time.
I know. I'm like, shouldn't you kind of have some backups in your back pocket?
Yeah.
They were like, Vespa ride, no. 6-hour tour, no. Anyway, I think they spent a little too much time on their phones and like not just like entertaining the guests.
Right. Yeah.
So lunchtime, Mediterranean lunch, guests love it. Sandy, Toomey, and Luca meet. And Sandy says, you should take them on a boat ride in the harbor and do drinks. And so Sandy wants Toomey and Kyle to go on the boat ride because they're, very good with guests and they're
Yeah.
entertaining. And they end up taking the fancy tender that we've only seen a little bit this season because they don't tow it. I think it kind of stays on the dock.
Yeah.
So this booze cruise, it's not very scenic. There's container ships.
Yeah.
There's an airport, so they see some planes taking off, and like generally industrial port type areas.
They didn't go in and like look at the other yachts. Or maybe
I
they
know.
did, but it probably wasn't as fun as watching them just staring at big things that you could see back in Ohio along the river in the locks,
Right.
But
What if they'd seen like a body floating? No.
Well then, that would have been a different story. I feel like true crime would have shown up and it would have been
Yeah.
a completely different. You never know. At least it wasn't. What was it? It was one of the shows we watched. It was a big pipe in the water. Was that
Oh, yeah.
Adventure?
I can't remember now.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, that was interesting too.
Yeah, and they pulled that up.
The nice thing about the booze cruise
Mhm.
of the year was that they did get to see how bad the waves were. I mean, it looked like where they were, the waves were bigger, like taller than
Yeah.
they were. And it just, while they were in the port and the waves were just so high, it just was so like scary.
Yeah, there's no way you could have
But
left
Jeff
the
still wanted to
port.
go out there. So
Yeah,
whatever.
I was like, I think we can make it. It's gonna be
Ugh.
fine. So back on board, the guests are just so bored, and I was thinking part of this is their problem, right? Like, get in the hot tub, play a game, like just have a good time. They were just kind of lame-o.
They kept saying, I just want to drink the whole time. I just don't want to drink the whole time. Then don't. I
Yeah,
don't
then
know.
do something else.
So after their booze cruise around the port, guest Jeff, who's not my favorite person,
No.
goes and complains to Sandy, like, it doesn't look that bad out there. And, we are neurosurgeons, and he asked me to come on this, and I wasn't sure, but now I'm here, and, so I really
Yeah.
hope he's from Columbus, and I run into him, like, at a Giant Eagle or something. And I'm going to be like, we need to talk, sir.
Lame-o.
Yeah.
So Sandy suggests a game night. This is a great idea. The crew versus the guests. Lily's going to be in charge of game night. Although she said crew against the guests, but we watched game night. It was just the guests and Lily.
That was a big question that I had. Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe I misunderstood it.
Yeah, that would have been way more fun to have like the two teams. Anyway.
Yeah.
So she's working on games in the crew mess, and she has this big green marker disaster, ink everywhere. It's even dyed her hair green.
Haley said, I would help you, but I'm hungry. Like for the cleanup. I was like, get it, girl.
Yeah.
So how did the marker even explode? Did
I
she
don't know.
pull it apart?
These obviously weren't like Crayola
That's what I was
markers.
thinking.
I
Yeah,
mean, I've never been able to like pull a marker apart. Like I've never seen that. So who knows? Maybe they're like some fancy Italian markers.
that's true.
I don't know. So guess Jeff and Stephanie are having an argument down in their cabin.
Yikes.
And Jeff says he's going to bed and he doesn't want to come upstairs. And Stephanie's kind of, we're all waiting for you. Come up, come
Yeah.
up. And I was thinking, Stephanie, just leave his
Yeah.
lame ass.
Yeah.
And also, maybe he has to poop and he wants her out of there.
Well, that's true. But they're married. They've been together for like ever. So it's one of those things like,
It's close quarters.
yeah.
I
But
don't know. I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I guess he does end up coming up there. So,
yeah, he was kind of a jerk the whole time that we saw him, though. He was just kind
mhm.
of just not happy. I don't know. And he was trying to make everybody else miserable with him. But I thought after you said that, maybe he was hangry and needed to poop. And that's a horrible combination.
Yeah, that's not good.
No.
So tonight is
We're such 13-year-old
tonight.
boys.
Oh boy. Okay, so tonight is the tasting menu. Jack is excited to just do what he wants to do for this meal because so many times during the season he's had to do something very specific that the guests wanted, but now he can like really show off what he can do.
Yeah.
Jess talks to Lily about her plans to go to Cannes with Luka and is it Cannes? Can.
Yes. Can.
She says, what am I doing? And she's just trying to be in the moment and not get too attached, as we know, too late.
But she is so very attached to him.
I know.
Like hardcore attached. She
Yeah.
has names picked out for their babies, and her wedding dress is in the shopping cart online. Like she is ready for this boy.
Yeah. So meanwhile, Luka is sexting with Natalya in his bunk.
Gross.
The modern dancers arrive that Toomey has arranged to surprise the guests with.
Yes.
And we learned that Toomey was a dancer. She was a ballerina.
That's so cool. And it was so neat to see the dancers, but did they have music that they were dancing to on the boat? Or was that
I'm
piped in by
sure.
the producers afterwards?
Yeah, I'm sure they had music, but then
Okay.
they don't have the rights to it. So they always add, whatever generic music, which is
Something
never very
similar
good.
to it. Yeah.
Yeah, super lame. Lost my place. Okay, so the guests who are very cold people, according to Toomey, they do seem to enjoy the dancers. I feel like this
Yay!
kind of gets the ball rolling and kind of gets them loosened up a little bit. So Lily invites them to join in game night and she gives them some glitter for their faces. I thought that was cute.
Yeah.
The first game really warms them up and she's killing it.
She is definitely in her prime with this guest interaction. It's just,
Mhm.
but again, where was the rest of the crew? And I definitely thought this was a guest versus crew kind
Yeah.
of thing. And then I started thinking, well, maybe I read into that too much. Like, I don't know.
I don't know.
But
Would have
everybody
been way
seemed
more
fine
fun.
with it. So
Yeah, I mean, I think they had a good time.
yeah.
So the next game, they're picking up cereal boxes with their teeth, and one of the guest dresses comes up, and she's either not wearing underwear or her thong is not covering her. I'm
We
not sure.
did get to see quite a bit of her, didn't we?
We sure did.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Sandy tells Kyle that she misses Natalya and her organization skills, and this is obviously not something Kyle wants to hear.
Yeah. No, it's not about him.
Right. So the next day, Natalya calls Jack and she's in Genoa, and she wants to come meet them for a drink on the crew night out. And she wants it to be a surprise.
Oh, what could possibly go wrong here?
I know. Jack feels a little bad that he's not going to tell anyone. He knows Kyle's going to be triggered by seeing her. And there's the whole Jess, Luka, Natalya thing. And
Yeah.
he says it's going to be explosive.
And he is so excited about that.
He's here for it. So
Yeah,
the
yeah.
preview for the finale next week looks pretty juicy.
And all I have to say is toot toot, the Hot Mess Express is pulling in the station for one last session.
Yes,
Should be good. It's now time for our segment, Metaphors with Max. All right, Sarah, which one of these Max quotes is your favorite from this week? All right. Number 1. No way, he's alive, as he's talking to the lobsters. I'm so sorry for you, as he's petting the lobsters.
Aw.
And then number 2 is in a high-pitched Lily voice, I cuddle, I'm drunk, I cuddle.
I was very touched by the lobster
Yeah, that was super
moment
sweet.
because he's a vegetarian, and yeah, I really liked that. And I think there were more Max quotes, but couldn't understand them.
He was definitely living his best life so far this charter, just doing what he wanted, so,
Yeah, for
yeah.
sure. He's ready, and he's ready for this season to end.
All right, well, let's take a break, and we'll be back with Hot Tub Convo.
It's time for Hot Tub Convo, where we discuss what's happening with our favorite Below Deck cast members.
So, Sarah, I saw this article that we're getting ready to talk about, and I swore it was a typo. So, Kyle and Zachary got married
Yeah.
back in April.
We
And
were
they
waiting
kept
on
it
our
under wraps.
invitation.
They kept it secret that whole time. So
Yeah.
they got married back in April at City Hall, and they
Mhm.
want to have a bigger celebration at a later date. At a later date. Oh my word. I also recommend you guys go check out Kyle's podcast, The Daily Serve. On the latest episode, Kyle had Zachary on and they told the whole wedding story. And the photos were so sweet.
Yeah, they were. So congratulations to both of them.
Yay.
So in other reality show news, the newest season of Traitors has premiered on Peacock.
Yeah.
There are no Below Deck folks this time, so we won't really
Oh.
be talking about it. But from the Bravo world, we have Larsa Pippen and her
Yeah.
boyfriend, who's Michael Jordan's son.
Yeah.
MJ from Shaws of Sunset. I
Oh,
thought you would like
MJ.
that.
Yeah.
Phaedra Parks, Sheree Whitfield, and Tamra Judge. And I'm one episode in. I'm loving it so far. The cast is really good.
Yeah.
Also, the Southern Charm and Salt Lake City reunions were last week, and they are so good.
I have them queued up to watch
Oh
because
my God. You're going to love them. Once you watch and text me and we'll discuss.
we'll discuss.
Discuss.
Max and Lily were on Watch What Happens Live last week. Max wore his red Mystique shirt. He was on a boat in Saint-Tropez, and Lily looked very glam while in the Bahamas. So the best part of this episode was Andy trying to understand Max and vice versa. And Lily said she was okay with Kyle taking his share of the tip because remember last episode we were like, wait a minute, you weren't
Why
here the
did
whole
he
time.
Yeah.
And she said everyone works hard all season and a migraine could have happened to anyone. And I agree because they do just come out of anywhere.
Yeah.
Max had no idea what Below Deck was before he was on the show.
That's pretty funny. This was one of the best Watch What Happens Live episodes I've seen in a while. Yeah, because usually, when they're on Zoom, it's kind of lame, but it was so funny just because Max was just so silly.
Oh, too fun.
They both did a great job.
Well, okay, question though, before we move on. Did they talk about their romance or are they still buddies?
I don't think so.
They're not boat buddies
if they did,
anymore?
I guess it didn't resonate. Yeah, I don't recall.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's time for our segment, Join Me in the Wheelhouse, where we decide who needs to see Captain Sandy for a stern talking to. Sarah, this week, who do you choose?
Ooh, I did not prepare anything, but I'm going to go with Jeff, the charter guest. Just he's annoying. And just all the charter guests that were complaining. I get it, but it's the weather. She can't control the weather, you guys.
I mean, she is pretty amazing. Captain Sandy is pretty amazing, but she cannot control the weather. So, all right, Jeff and all the other whiners, come on up here. Victor, you're good. We might see you at the doctor's office, though, later. So.
All right. Well, that's it for this week's episode of Above Deck. Thank you to our team at Hurrdat Media, especially our wonderful producer, Grace. Please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen. And don't forget to tell a friend. Please rate and review us 5 stars only.
Please follow us on Instagram at Above Deck Pod. And you can always email us too at abovedeckpod@gmail.com. And don't forget, you can watch us on the Hurrdat Media YouTube channel. Also, Sarah is really good about responding to any messages on Instagram. So, and then she screenshots them and sends them to me at work. So.
Depends how juicy they are.
Until next week, I'm Kelly Busby.
And I'm Sarah Goldman. See you next week.